See that we have people slowly joining in. So we'll give everybody a couple of minutes. Now that I'm thinking about it, we should have probably had some background music, something to just keep the fun going. Yeah.
Some upbeat music.
Some upbeat music, yeah. Something would have been nice. Then we won't be able to hear Hudson in the background when he comes in. So.
Well, there we go. Maybe he can play his guitar that he's playing all weekend.
That would be cute. For those of you who don't know and who are joining us, Hudson is John's baby.
Yeah, almost 3-year-old.
Yeah. All right, everybody, we're going to give one more minute. We're at 11 a.m., but just give it one more minute in case we have some folks who are just trying to join in. But if you're already here, thank you for being on time. And welcome to our webinar today on July 29th. We will be talking about virtual communities and how to nurture virtual communities and the benefits of it. And of course, we'll be talking to John Schilling with Beatitudes campus today. Give it just 30 more seconds and then we'll get started. Just so everybody knows, there is a chat option as we are talking. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead and leave it in the chat box. And as we get an opportunity, I will try to address those and address it with John. We will be doing some live Q&A or live polls. Please do take a minute to respond to those. That'll help John and I understand if you have any concerns, questions, where you're at with your organization and how we could better respond to any queries that you have moving forward. All right, I think we're going to get started. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. This is a webinar format, so it is not going to be interactive. You will be able to see us and ask questions via chat, but unfortunately, we won't be able to see your video. So if you need to get in touch with us, ask us a question, please go ahead and write it in the chat box. So yes, think of yourself as being on mute. So with that, my name is Shruti Gurudanti, and I am the CEO, co-founder of Televeda, and I have the very great fortune of having John Schilling with the Beatitudes campus today. John is the Director of Life Enrichment at the Beatitudes campus in Phoenix. He's been with the Beatitudes for over 12 years.
Yep, thank you, thank you.
Starting off as a wellness coordinator, and now he's currently the Director of Life Enrichment. And I absolutely love the mission for life enrichment at Beatitudes. They say it's pretty simple, but I think it has so much value in it. It goes, Beatitudes help bring resident ideas to life. You think that's really beautiful. Before we get started by bombarding John with a bunch of questions, I do want to talk about a study that the Televeda team had done when we started to see the pandemic roll out. And we looked at a bunch of nonprofits, we surveyed municipalities, we surveyed organizations like senior living communities, essentially groups that work with a vulnerable population, and we asked them how has the pandemic impacted you, or has it at all? And what are you seeing in terms of pivots and outcomes at this point in time? And that was a very, very good way for us to understand what some of you here are probably thinking, and so some of the reasons why you are here. I know we have a lot of folks today who are part of this webinar who are with nonprofits in the senior living industry, who are working with municipalities, again, working with individuals who are vulnerable. And so what we found was that unfortunately, a majority of the organizations that we surveyed have lost revenue because of a impact on their in-person engagement. The majority of the organizations did not have any digital engagement pre-COVID. 76% and more reported a significant decrease in the number of events that they were doing, which was helping them engage with their residents, their patrons, with their donor base, their community members, which was of course affecting their awareness in the community. Almost all pivoted to phone or virtual engagement. And I want everybody to think about that for a second here, because when you're forced to pivot or change your business because of a situation, then you have to immediately almost think about how can you do it in an effective and efficient manner. More than 94% of the organizations that we surveyed said that their employees, their existing employees, are the ones who are figuring out how to create virtual experiences. Again, it's something to think about, because creating virtual experiences, and I know John will talk about this in a little bit, but that's an art in itself and takes a lot of time and effort. So your now employees are wearing multiple hats. So it's very interesting to see that. And a majority of organizations are using social media as their platforms for this sort of digital engagement, which is usually one-way interactive. So your Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and other sort of one-way stream that you have. Now, what was the positives that we saw as part of this survey? And we did see a lot of positives that came out as well. I think the one big one is that over 37% of the organizations reported that they saw a decrease in their cost and overhead expenses. And that's something amazing. So now you have a smaller pool of money that you need in order to reach your audience. So I think that's something that organizations previous to COVID were not thinking about, but now are seeing the benefit of virtual engagement. More efficient staff, and I know John will talk about this in a little bit, but you're seeing that your staff is able to reach a wider audience, but in a shorter period of time, because now think about it, you're able to do these webinars and produce content from the comfort of your home, not having to drive to a certain destination or get there and do something out there. Larger audience reach and increased interaction. I think this one's a big one that it's great that organizations are starting to see now, that initially maybe there was a restriction in the number of people that you could reach because you're limited by geography or zip code, but now you are able to reach anyone and everyone as long as they have a device and they have internet. Now your reach and awareness is with so many people, and you have that increased interaction. I know right now so many people are joining us and we're literally everywhere. So I know John is joining us from outside of Arizona. So this is how amazing technology can be and how amazing the reach can be. And I think the most important thing that we found, and which was really, really cool to learn, was that over 76% of the organizations, now that they have used virtual engagement, have said that they will continue to do that post-COVID. And that's something huge. So just think about the fact that there was so much resistance all the way up until now But now that you've had to come over that hump a little bit, people have realized how beneficial virtual engagement is, and you want to continue to do that. So that's really, really huge. Of course, there are challenges that come with creating virtual experiences, which we will talk about and hopefully address some of those and what are the tools and resources that you can use. But it's really, really interesting to see how the mind shift has now changed and you're more open to it. So what we discovered as challenges as part of that survey was that the flexibility that organizations were seeing with that is great. But one of the biggest challenges was that there's a steep learning curve. So now when your employees are having to, also figure out virtual engagement, how do they really create that? And becoming a YouTube celebrity overnight, I know, John, you are great at producing YouTube dance videos. If anyone has missed it, I would highly encourage you to try to find his TikTok videos for his residents. They're amazing. But there is a steep learning curve to figure out how do you produce quality content. And that segues into the second big issue that, okay, now that you know that there's a steep learning curve to production, the other challenge was what content do you create and how do you create it? And that's very time consuming because so far we've all been trained in doing in-person programs. Let's go to an event and, create a support group, or let's create a museum tour where people are coming to us. Or let's create an educational session. Again, I go to, the Beatitudes and have people come in for coffee and lunch and learns. But now you're having to shift that and figure out how to create that content online. So that, of course, without expertise, that can be challenging. All of us here, maybe I'm making a large presumption, but maybe a majority of us here who are listening to this work with a vulnerable population. So security for this population is very important, whether it's kids with special needs, it's seniors, individuals with cognitive disabilities, caregivers. We're talking about reaching a vulnerable population. And one of the other challenges that people reported was that finding a platform that is secure is very, very key, but also finding a platform that is easy to use for this demographic is important. And I think that's something that, John, you've taken very seriously to heart because unfortunately, Zoom, like right now for us, has been fairly easy to use, but it's not really intuitive for a lot of people who are not very tech savvy. And that can be a real barrier for reaching our audience that we would like to reach. And I think lastly is, again, if the accessibility is not in place, then your community engagement is not going to increase, or you're not going to be able to maintain it. So those were some of the challenges, and they all sort of stick together very, very well in terms of what is the expertise you need, how do I get that quickly, and what is the accessibility in order to continue to maintain my engagement. So these are all very, very interesting things to find as challenges that communities are experiencing. And I think, John, you have been able to, at the Beatitudes, in a very, very efficient and an effective manner, been able to address all of these issues and really engage your 300 residents in a very quick and effective manner. And that's why I wanted to, have you here and talk about how you've been able to do that, because I know that a lot of other organizations out there are just trying to get their feet wet, because I'm assuming that a lot of us were thinking that there is going to be a post-COVID, or like what happens after COVID, but all of us are starting to realize that this is going to be here for some time. And how do we, sort of navigate this in a way that we're not completely canceling out all of the engagement that we have, but actually are adapting. So with that, that's why I wanted to have you here talk about how you are helping bring resident ideas to life. So would you mind, John, just giving us a introduction about Beatitudes and the history, the number of residents you have, and just an overview.
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, Beatitudes is located in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's located in Central Phoenix. We actually have around above 700 residents total on our campus. And, the culture of Beatitude, it is a faith-based organization, and we pride ourselves with inclusivity. It does not matter what your sex, race, orientation, anything is. We welcome everybody and anybody, and that's something that we really pride ourselves with, and we make an effort for our programming and overall culture on our campus to address those specifically. And that's something important that once again we do pride ourselves with, and it's a cool culture to be part of. And with those 700 plus residents that we do have on our campus, we have different levels of care. We are a life plan community. So we have our independent living side, our assisted living side, early memory support, advanced dementia area, short-term care, and then a healthcare center, long-term care that we provide at campus. And that's what gets us to those 700 residents there. And like I said, the motto for Beatitudes is really, it's all about living. Wherever you're at in residents' lives, it does not matter. It's all about living. And we want to do person-centered programming activities, whatever that may be. And that's where really the life enrichment mission really is we want to help bring ideas that our residents have, and we want to help bring them to life. And that could be basically just showing them, getting a room for them. If this resident is so engaged in what they want to do, we'll just help them find a room. In other ways, it's really talking through the ideas that they have to help them really plan on how to get something like that started. So for life enrichment, it's all about our residents' ideas, and we're going to help and do our best to bring them to Beatitudes. So it's a fun atmosphere, as well as we always, from our executive level, they always want us to think of new ideas, to always try to be thinking ahead, and just to have that mindset when we're either brainstorming with each other or having, those meetings that can get pretty boring, but we're usually thinking ahead and trying to do our best with that at the Beatitudes.
Absolutely. And I will say that, I know you have some of your residents actually joining in today on our webinar, but I love that you actually do walk the walk, when it comes to life enrichment. When you say that you believe in listening to your residents, you absolutely do. You have, your lifelong learners. You have all sorts of programming that you create based on your residents. But I think what's also amazing is that you have this very different way of looking at holistic wellness, which is that, yes, people need to have the flexibility, people need to have the ability to engage in programs that they like, but whether they want to do it in their home or they want to do it, downstairs in a group, they should have that ability and that, the possibility to do that. So I think while a lot of organizations right now are thinking about how to pivot and how to change into virtual programming, you were one of the few communities that already had virtual programming. I know we were working with you before, and so when COVID hit, it wasn't as much as a pivot, but it was more of turning the switch on and just expanding that reach. So you mind, John, talking a little bit about how has COVID impacted your team or your work so far, and what have you done in order to cope with it?
Oh yeah, you're right. COVID, it's impacted everyone. And for those of you who maybe aren't in a life plan community or senior community, it's been it has affected our residents obviously the most. And man, it was like a 1 to 2 day thing where all of a sudden now we're asking them, stay in your apartments, please don't come out. And that's a hard thing to do. and our community of residents really they did it just like nonchalantly. Maybe that we didn't hear it, but they were willing to take that on themselves. And we know the effects isolation can be on anyone, including our population. So we understood completely about just how adverse that could be on our residents' health. And as a community, just to kind of give a bigger picture view of how we kind of work through that as a team of staff, you know, we're meeting every morning at 9:30 virtually on a phone call to discuss about anything that we're hearing from our community, how it's adversely affecting, or things that are going right, so we can continue to support our residents wherever they are and whatever that may be. And that phone call is important for our leadership team, so we can hear from what we're hearing from our residents in our community and then talk through it as a team to better understand and figure out the next steps for our community. So that's just an important piece that I think for Beatitudes started, and that came from obviously our leadership team, our CEO, and we have not missed that in about 4 months, that 9:30 meeting, and that's done virtually, which has been helpful. And then also, as soon as we started to better understand COVID, and kind of at the beginning, it was kind of all over the place, as we all know. We didn't really know how long it was going to last, what the effects were with anything. So we got together and we just said, all right, you know what, we're going to have to do this virtually. How are we going to do this? And we, from our staff, it wasn't like, no, I'm not comfortable with it. It was basically, I'll learn more about it so we can make this happen. And we had in our background a live community channel we call 1-2 that was kind of on the back burner. And in like a week and a half, that bad boy is up. And we have content on the hour, every hour throughout the day. At our night, you know, each hour is a life enrichment, and then it could be spiritual life hour, success matters hour, fitness hour, and all staff really started to say, you know what, I'm going to be part of life enrichment as it is now, where everyone then can be part of creating that engagement throughout the campus.
Yeah. That's really incredible. And is that the way you are reaching your 700 residents? Because I know that we have, you know, you have some sort of a hybrid that you're doing when it comes to virtual engagement right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, primarily it is that hybrid engagement. We also, of course, use Televeda's platform, where the thing that we can't do on our platform on our TV is that two-way interaction. And the way, you know, surety Televeda is set up, there is that two-way interaction where you can join and also participate while you're joining. So we're using that platform too. And a lot of in our licensed buildings really has been connecting families via Zoom to their loved ones that are living there and getting that interaction there. Because, you know, our licensed buildings at Beatitudes, we've been on lockdowns for 4 months. So no visitors really have been coming on that aren't essential to operations on our campus. So we've really had to step our game up with Zoom calls to connect families with them, with each other, for that type of stuff.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Like, you have to really commend how, you know, you and your team have been able to really come up with what tools actually work for which part of the community, and all sort of bring them together. Because I think you're absolutely right. On our platform, I have some very beautiful stories to share of the Beatitudes members, like, you know, coming together. I know just yesterday we had some join and watch the Butterfly Pavilion and learn about, you know, all sorts of spiders and whatnot. So it's really cool. But you're right, having that engagement two-way helps with, you know, really alleviating isolation. But at the same time, you do have other members in your community who might not have a device or who might have some other issue. So for them, having that TV option where you have your community channel is like a great way to keep them engaged. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and the efficiency part of it, we do try to do that two-way engagement on our channel, but it's recorded. So while, let's say, our Success Matters team is doing their portion of, they may call, or residents call them live during that recording, and then we'll just record that and play that recording on their channel at the time that they have. So it was a lot of learning for us all when we were figuring out what this platform is going to look like. But, you know, the mindset of the culture that we've had previous of, don't think of a problem as it's going to stop you. How can we learn about the problem and
Yeah.
then effectively change whatever that problem may be?
Yeah, totally, totally. So that brings me to one of the questions that I've always wanted to know, John. You have looked at virtual engagement even before COVID. So I know we started working a long time ago. What was your thinking behind that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my thoughts, our whole team's thoughts. We knew just how unhealthy isolation can be on our older population. And we understood that there's just different circumstances why someone may not want to come to a big group event in person, whether that be maybe they're not comfortable coming to that program. They could be brand new to our community and not know anyone yet. So that step of coming into a environment where there's 30 plus people there could be a little overwhelming. We also understand that, man, some people can just be coming from a hospital visit and not be physically able to get to some of the programs that we have. And we wanted to make sure we were also engaging them. And then just if someone's not feeling up for it that day, you know what, I just don't want to go to this this community room where there's a bunch of people in there because I don't want to do my hair or whatever that is that day. At least now what our goal was, that they can just be in their apartment and still participate in whatever we have on campus. And the isolation piece was really, really in the forefront of my head, as well as the rest of the life enrichment team, just to do our best to create an environment where we can help with the isolation of residents.
Yeah. And that's so important. I know that you know, oftentimes we get into you know, the weeds of, oh, but I don't know if X, Y, and Z would use it. I don't know if we would have the ability. But I remember you saying that your goal is not to boil the ocean, but if you can start to at least have accessibility to everybody, that's what you're focusing on, and making sure that everyone has the ability to be a part of something.
Yeah, well, you know, when I look at our older adults in general, and they're not familiar with technology at this time, but you know, when I think of our residents, we have retired CEOs, presidents of banks, mothers who have taken care of 7, 8 kids, and you know, our population are smart and they want to keep learning and growing.
Exactly.
So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't a hesitation to have something new. We knew there was going to be learning for everyone when we started putting this idea out there. But I want our residents to be able to keep learning whenever that may be. And this also felt another piece to, you know, put something else in their back pocket that then they can get a better feel and understanding of technology, and maybe not be down the road afraid of doing just a FaceTime with their daughter or grandkid, whatever that may be. So this could also just be a jumping off point for themselves to dig a little deeper into technology.
Yeah, and I can say that, you know, when we were, whether before COVID or post-COVID, when we onboard your residents onto our platform, I think it's always just that initial phone call where you just have to, you know, show them these are the steps, this is what you need to do. And then once they get it, that, oh, it's just one click, it's just this button, that's all I need to do. And I'm here and I can talk to all these people. And it's just that light bulb moment where it's like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then it's just like they're on every yoga class, every Tai Chi class that we have. And it's just empowering once, you know, they feel that they're able to do it and that they're comfortable in doing it.
Yeah, it's like that saying, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but it's about, don't, you know, teach someone to fish, not catch the fish for them or something, and then they'll be able to get food forever. So that's kind of the mindset with technology. You know, for myself, I just don't want to do everything for our residents. I want
Yeah.
to create something we want to show them how it can be done, but they're going to have to learn how to do it because, um, it's as a community, you only have a certain amount of staff, obviously. So we want to make sure they're learning how to use this platform and not having to rely on staff specifically each time they need to do it. And the Televeda platform, like you said, it's one button, and it's a very nice way to dive into technology. Just realizing, oh, okay, it's not too scary to get on there and do it, and then maybe they start gaining a little more experience, and then they'll try more stuff as they go on.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, John. I know that my team works very hard to try to keep accessibility and security. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, you bet.
What about, I know I am always interested to hear as life enrichment director, I'm sure you're getting a lot of, products that you're seeing out there which help with increasing engagement, increasing the opportunities for people to stay active. But you brought a very interesting point that a lot of these also require a lot of staff hand holding. And so have you had any experience like that where you thought that, yeah, we're bringing in technology, but this is way more work for me? And it's, anything you can shed light on that perspective, that what's easy, what's not, what are you looking for in a platform?
Yeah, for us, and I guess just for Beatitudes, I can't speak for anyone else, but what can take a lot of time when companies come to myself or our team with these ideas is they have created maybe the idea, and then which is not a bad thing, but then it's up to us to really get that idea out to our community and break it down into how it works best for Beatitudes. So it's a lot of time not only figuring out the technology piece, but then how to implement that at Beatitudes. So what we're looking for currently is really that kind of one push, one click that button, everything's up, because not only will that save time for staff, but that really does save a lot of time for our residents and give them a peace of mind when they're trying something new. And it's not just older adults. I think when any of us try something new, really, if it's like a headache at the beginning, I'm probably just going to be like, no, I'm going to try to find something else that's better than that. And that's the same thing that we're looking for in regards to technology pieces at Beatitudes.
Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want something that's giving you 5 times the amount of work. Right. You want something that'll come in and say, all right, I got it. I got your back, John. We're going to run with it. So yeah.
Yeah, and that for sure. And then also, though, obviously the piece is communication back between whatever that platform is and us, because as life plan communities, every life plan community has a different culture on it. And to be able to not have like a one blanket thing that they're trying to sell you that you have to do, but to work with us and create what that looks like at Beatitudes is a big piece too for what we look for.
Yeah, totally. That makes complete sense. And that sort of segues into the question that I wanted to ask you, which is, what do you think has been the metrics for success for life enrichment in this post-COVID world? Is it, I know we provide you with, analytics, but is there any other metrics that you're looking for? Because I know Beatitudes is huge on metrics.
Mm-hmm. It's really the metrics that I'm looking for is not necessarily how many people are at a program or attending something. It's how engaged they are when they get there, because engagement for us is not, it can be, but ideally it's not going there and just getting lectured at for an hour or two. It's going there and whoever that person is that's putting us on is engaging with the people who are there, whether that be just simple asking them questions or having a discussion while the program is going on. So
Yeah.
we really look for the engagement while residents or whoever is attending the event is what I really like to look for when I do an evaluation or whatever that is of a program.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that's very unique about the Beatitudes. It's not that did I have 500 people attend this? Is it you're looking more at, well, did the 5 people who attend actually have a good time?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. And it's a different viewpoint that, because I think at Beatitudes a lot of time there can be a big event and a lot of people go and we'll get big props from whoever it is saying, oh, there's so many people at this event, and then which is okay, but I like to make sure our life enrichment specialists who put that on just to make sure they're like, I was like, okay, but were they engaged while they were there? Because we got to remember a big event is okay, but the engagement is what we're going for. There's definitely times to have those big events as a group gathering, like a dinner or a theme dinner, whatever that may be. But for us, that's not the goal, is to put on these huge events all the time. It's to really engage the people who are there.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that we, on our Televeda platform, had the Chandler Symphony Orchestra have their concert this Sunday that you're aware of. And we had the Attitude residents asking questions to the quintet, and they were very engaged. And
That's
they wanted,
awesome.
they were very engaged. And they were like, well, we want you to do more of these so that, and
cool.
we'll pay per view if you can do more of these. So yeah, I think engagement is very important. And again, that two-way interaction and having that hybrid, I think, is always very helpful to keep that engagement going. So John, I'm sure a lot of people want to know this, but what do you think have been some of your biggest benefits of having online content now? Is it, you're having a larger reach, you're able to reach all 700 people now in a very efficient, effective manner, or like, is it cost? What has been, some of the key benefits in online content?
Yeah, it's definitely being able to hit and reach out to all the 700 residents that we do have on our campus. There's specifically our fitness class that happens every day. Mike, it's funny because, we talk about COVID and having to pivot. When it started, our life enrichment team really became the grocery shoppers and the delivery packager people at campus. And when we went and walked around to deliver packages around that 1 o'clock time, I don't know, maybe 90% of all TVs had mic on, and they were doing exercise in their class. And when David Reagan, who's our senior VP of resident services, one time he called a resident during the time the fitness class was on, and the resident picked up and was like, I can't talk now, I'm doing fitness, and hung up on him. So it was pretty funny. So we know we're doing our best to engage with the residents out there. And, it's nice with that platform, with the unfortunate situation, not a lot of family members can physically come on our campus, and we're able to give them a peace of mind and show them all of that content that we are providing for engagement on our campus. And I would hope that gives them a peace of mind that their loved one there is still being engaged the best we can. And even though they are spending a lot of time in their apartments, can still have that type of engagement in their rooms while we're going through all this together. And for our marketing team, they're able to send this type of link to potential persons moving on, that they can view that, hey, you know what, just because this started happening, Beatitudes doesn't shut down what they consider engagement is on our campus. Prior to COVID and after COVID, when we have residents or potential persons who come and tour Beatitudes, a lot of them, when they physically finally get on campus, they're like, it felt different here in a good way, of a lot of stuff going on. Even our marketing team, we have resident ambassadors who are kind of our marketing team. They'll call someone who's thinking of moving in and let them know that, no, you know what, there's a lot going on here. The culture is here. We're inclusive. We want everyone to be successful wherever you're at. So those types of things with having the things on TV can also then back up what I guess we're kind of preaching to people who want to move in and family members and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I think at the Beatitudes and you and your team, you really walk the walk on life engagement. I know that we've had this conversation many times that people move into a community not because you have a fresh coat of paint on the wall or you have 2 swimming pools, or like they don't, walk into some sort of a community because they like the way it looks. It's more about what is the engagement that you're providing. So whether you're a senior living community, whether you're a museum, you're a rec center here, it's more about what is that engagement that you are providing to your people. And I know one of the things I'm seeing with communities is that they've completely shut down activities, or if it's another nonprofit, they've completely shut down engaging with their members. And I think that's not the response. You want to continue to show that you're engaging with people. And to your point, the best way to market, to sell, to show is that you have that engagement alive even today. You just have changed the way you're doing it. And in fact, there's always scope for that hybrid to continue to keep going. So what if you were to talk about, what your vision is right now and advice that you want to give to communities about how to navigate the situation, what would that be, John?
Yeah, obviously, just to touch back on what you were kind of saying before, it with people kind of shutting down their activities or engagement stuff, like that's completely understandable at this time, because we definitely don't want gathering. But what we as a profession and stuff, we want to make sure how we're putting engagement out is safe. And
Yes.
right now, that's kind of what this online virtual stuff is. It's a great place to have a safe environment during COVID, and to try to do our best to not spread the virus around campus and still keep them engaged. And then the second part would be, right now, if you are kind of hitting the pause button on activities and programming, get out there and learn about virtual, how to use this platform for whatever profession you're in. This is a great time. If you're not having to do all that stuff, learn for yourself, get yourself educated to see which is going to work best for your community. And just don't think of it as, I got to do all of it virtually and none of it, in person. Work through a way that works best for you on how this hybrid feel can be, to offer stuff online, but when everything gets back, making sure we're getting everyone together. Because also, once everything hopefully gets back to normal, having that in-person stuff, it may be 6 feet apart, maybe masks, but that's still an important piece of us being humans. We want that type of interaction. So use this virtually platforms and that as like a virtual hybrid, so you can still do a little bit of both. And if you're pausing your activities or whatever it may be, start getting out there and do your best to learn how these platforms work, so you can have a good understanding of what works best for your community or your business that you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there's help out there. Like, I'm sure if you were to reach out to like my team, if you reach out to my team and have questions, and we'll walk through some of the challenges that most people have when putting together online content. But if you have questions on how to engage your community during this time, feel free to reach out to us. I think one of the things that we keep seeing, John, when communities come to us, or nonprofits or cities come to us, is that and also from our survey, when we surveyed, I think one of the big challenge was piecemealing everything together right now is a big pain in the butt. Like, what as someone whose expertise is putting together in-person programming, now I am being asked to figure out how to quickly change and have a platform, have security. How do I get the word out? What kind of content to use? How do I create the content? How does it look good and not like I'm just streaming it out of my garage? And then what kind of platform can I use that could give me attendance and analytics? In fact, just yesterday, I was talking to somebody who was like, after we do every Zoom class, and I mean, I have my thoughts about having Zoom for a vulnerable population, but after we do a Zoom class, I have to physically sit down and write out who participated, how many classes have they been doing, and, you know, sort of get that attendance sheet. And that is just very, very inefficient. And so I think one of the big challenges right now is, yeah, do you spend the time to figure out how to piecemeal all of this together? Or do you, you know, just if the goal is to really engage your audience, what are the tools that you can use that can quickly and effectively get you going? Because the longer the gap you have in that engagement, you know, your brand awareness, your sales and marketing, your move-ins, and, you know, just that touch points tend to decrease. Do you have any thoughts on that, John? I know before COVID and everything, we worked a lot with you to give you job aids and, you know, the videos and everything to help with that efficiency. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, all of that, like you were talking about, what you guys provide is very helpful because, yeah, it was, I don't mean, a month or 2 months ago, I forget it was, but we were having that same conversation. It was, how can we want to get content out, but we want it to look good. We want it to be able to, for our population so they can understand it. We also need to know how to set up a camera in this area so we can capture stuff as well as keep getting sound to it that is good and different things like that. So all of that stuff for sure takes a lot of time and energy. And when you have a platform like you all are providing us, that stuff is kind of there, and you're there to help us with that type of stuff while we're working through it, because you know, it's a learning process to figure this stuff out. And, you know, specifically Beatitudes, we have that community channel 1-2 that's for engagement, but it's also to inform our community on the COVID stuff, what is happening. That's how we get information out about COVID specifically. So we had to then figure out, well, what type of stuff should we have up there that more residents can go and see, but not overload the whole system, where it's not like a cohesive type of day shows that are going to be on there. So yeah, that took a lot of time as well, and we're still working through that for sure.
Yeah, well, it's a learning process. Well, I have a question here from Gina Touch Mercer. How do you do how do you do fitness classes, karaoke, etc., given that most music has costs or rights to use? So I can answer that, Gina, from a Televeda perspective. When we do fitness and karaoke, we use business licenses to use that music. And also our karaoke is, we have a singer who sings the music and sings the songs, and we type out our own lyrics. So, and I'm an attorney, so that helps to work around the legal issues on a Televeda side. So I think that also answers for John, because you use Televeda. So any classes that we're doing is, of course, it's kosher and there's not a problem. But on your channel, John, do you have any thoughts that you want to share on that?
Yeah, well, yeah, on our channel, where fitness classes are done by our instructor. We don't really right now he's not using music while he's leading that class. But we do have a blanket, I forget the name of it, but a blanket license to play certain music on our campus. So that's how we play music if we do on that channel. And just to plug our residents one more time, a lot of that music comes from them playing and recording it themselves and putting it up there. So them playing guitars or singing or whatever it is. So for Beatitudes, that's kind of how we're going through that.
That's pretty much it. That's exactly right. I think on our platform as well, when we have karaoke, I think you can't hear the music because the residents are singing that loud and they're so excited about it. So, but it is a good question, and it is definitely something you want to be careful about.
Definitely.
So John, I wanted to run through some of the challenges on using technology and give everybody resources on, what could it be that they could use right now as tools. So hardware, software, definitely something that's important. You want to make sure you have the right equipment. Like John was talking previously, you have the right lighting. Your biggest challenge is going to be how to set up a studio for best production. So have a designated place within your community where you can say, okay, this is going to be that designated place where if I'm doing my own classes, that's, where I'm going to stream out of. Companies like us, we help with figuring what that setup looks like if you want to work with, a studio location like that. But if you're working with an organization like us, we take care of the hardware, software. So it's just you plug and play the classes, so it's efficient for you. But just keep in mind that people will not tolerate a bad production if it's bad for more than 90 seconds. John, has that been your experience as well? That more than 90 seconds, they'll just turn it off. They'll be like, I don't know, I don't want to do it anymore.
Well, I'm pretty sure they turn it off, but at Beatitudes they call.
They call, yeah.
They'll call. We will know if I think a couple weeks ago, I can't remember, there was Upside Down, and Corey Nelson, who's our media guy, he got so many calls, which is a good thing. We know when our production is not up to speed.
Yeah, and that's right. We've also fielded a lot of those phone calls that, hey, my internet is bad, but I need you to come and fix it for me.
Yeah.
So always be hardwired. So if you are producing content, make sure that you have an Ethernet cord, you're connected. That will always help keep your production quality high. So your hardware, software, internet is what is very important. Your software, you'll have to spend some time figuring out what you're using. Keep in mind, if you use something which you have to do a lot of support on, then that's not very efficient for you. So you want to find a platform that's easy to use for seniors, that's accessible, or for a vulnerable population that's accessible. The minute you have username, password, I forgot my dog's name, and like all of that stuff, you lost this audience. It has to be something which is very, very simple and easy to use. Content creation, I think this is also a challenge that John was talking about previously, that producing virtual content is not that simple. But always keep in mind that if it doesn't look professional, if it looks like someone is streaming out of their garage, you're not going to keep that engagement, whether it's with your residents, with your prospects, if you're a museum or you are a, like an adult daycare center. If you want to keep that engagement, you have to produce content that looks very professional. So just like John was saying, that it has to be, something that looks good. That's your brand, that's your reputation. You can try to create poor quality content, but then that's not going to stick. And then your initial reaction is going to be, this is not working, which is not true. It's just your quality of content is probably not what it should be. So maintain that by having a good studio, find the right instructors who have the experience on doing live stream and doing live classes, and then calendar management. So one thing I do want to point out is with us, with our Televeda platform, and maybe John, you've seen that this has been helpful in your case, but we have a reminder system. So once people are on the Televeda platform, an hour before the class starts, they get a text reminder that the class is coming up. So they know, and I know with, the populations we deal with, there is a memory issue sometimes, or, the caregiver needs to know that, I need to put this on. So having a very robust automated calendar management system is critical for the success of your live streaming and of your digital content and engagement. If you don't remind them, you don't have a system that gives them, this is when the class is, this is what you need to do, these are the steps. If you don't make it easy for them, you're going to lose engagement. Do you think that that's the case, John, at your end? Have you experienced that?
Yeah, for sure. We knew kind of right when we started, we needed to have classes or whatever's available at the same time every day, just so our community knew that, hey, at 10 o'clock, it's going to be fitness at 10 o'clock every day. So they know they can tune in because, the reminders can be super, super helpful.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
We appreciate it. Managing staff and educating and making sure that they are not having any reservations. I think John very nicely brought this point up before, that yes, there is a reservation, that how do I figure this out? How do I do it? But now is the perfect time, if you are seeing yourself slow, to actually educate yourself. This is not, there's no post-COVID. We have to work through this together. And I think just seeing the benefits of the larger audience that you can reach, having, you know, that education piece right now would help increase the quality of your content. And some statistics, which is interesting, is that 97% of increase just by increasing your brand awareness online in your sales. I think that's a pretty good number to really hang your hat on, that online content and engagement should definitely be a part of your strategy if you don't already have that. Platforms and security. I know this is one of the biggest challenge right now, what platform to use, what kind of security to have. And I know there are a ton of options out there. I know John also doesn't have to use us. There are several other available options like Zoom, WebEx, and you know, a bunch of other things that I can't remember right now. But think about who your audience is. Your audience wants to have ease and accessibility, and your staff wants to have a full system, not just a video conferencing tool right now, and then later, like I said, they have to sit down and write the attendance. That's just ineffective. So like John was saying, you want to have, you know, a system where everything is under one roof. You want to have an efficient structure so your staff is not having to then take your idea and having to build on it and then run on it. That's just very ineffective and doesn't save you time, and time is money. So how can you find a good platform that has good security measures, is easy to use, and you know, you have control from a timing perspective on it? So make sure when you're looking at a platform, they have a couple of things. They have you know, proper, robust instructions for your users on how to use it. They have a technology hotline. So like John was saying, people will call you. If there's a problem, they're going to pick up the phone and call you. I don't know if they can do that with Zoom or WebEx, or who's going to pick up the phone. So you want to find a platform where people can actually pick up the phone and answer a question if someone has issues with joining, because in 90 seconds, you don't get them in 90 seconds, you've lost that audience. Security measures. I was just talking yesterday to another community, and they said how they want to reach a wider audience, but they can't, you know, have a Zoom link out there, because then you have everybody and anyone joining, and that's not helpful. You don't want to get Zoom bombed. So be careful on the security measures of what platform you're using. What can you do to not have username, password, but still maintain some security out there? Last but not the least, I think on community engagement, your goals of online engagement, like John was saying, is how do you reach a wider audience? How do you keep them engaged? So quality over quantity is what you want to be looking for. So your goal should be, how do you engage your current customers, but also create interest amongst new users and new customers? And you can absolutely easily do that with online engagement, because it's accessible, it's available to everybody. You can increase participation, because now they don't have to, like John was saying, you know, their hair's not looking good, they just came back from the doctor, they're like, you know, now I don't want to go downstairs. But if it's online, they can participate, be a part of it, engage with your community all the time. So you have those touch points with them. And the best way to know whether something is working is by having data reports. And I think Beatitudes is big on data reporting. And if you are able to figure out how to track your metrics in an effective way, you will know whether, you know, it's what is working in your online content, what class is working, what's not working, and how to switch it out. I think just to bring everything together in a neatly tied bow, some of the big benefits of having online and a hybrid version is, keep in mind, You are not just here to engage the 10 people who attend an in-person program. You want to be able to engage anyone and everyone and give them the ability to access and be a part of it. So now you have a larger reach. You have families who are able to join for their loved ones from home, wherever they are, not just in Arizona, somewhere else. Younger audiences, I know that for Beatitudes, that's been an important thing, that how do we, look tech savvy so that we have younger audiences as well, as part of the community. And I think lastly, there is this nurturing virtual communities and online communities is very hard. You need to know how to do it. I think, we're all trying to figure that out as to how you can nurture an online community. I think the best way to do that is have a hybrid of one way, but also two way. I think Beatitudes is doing that great right now. You have a resource for on-demand videos. People can, watch a class if they missed a Televeda Tai Chi, but if they're part of the Televeda Tai Chi, they can interact with the other residents, know what's going on. I know I've heard conversations amongst people talking about, hey, did you go get your mail today? Or, hey, what was for lunch today? And how are you doing? And I think those engagements are what really keep the community connected. And you have to be able to provide those opportunities for them to connect. So future in my mind is, again, just dovetailing everything together. We had over 76% of people as part of our study say they want to continue online engagement. I know, John, you are going to continue virtual engagement. There's no doubt about that. You were doing it pre-COVID, so there's no doubt that you're going to continue to do it in a hybrid fashion. So I think that hopefully helps people understand, a live organization with 700 residents, how you're doing, virtual engagement today. So I think that's a very, very helpful session, John. Any other advice you have for people out there who are thinking about what to do and what to consider and who to look for in terms of advice?
Sure, yeah. But, it's funny, as we were on here, Farrell.
Yeah.
He sent me an email because he's on it saying, great job, except I forgot to mention our BC crew net that we have at Beatitudes. It's just a platform where residents can get on and staff as well to communicate, but it's pretty funny. It's not funny. That's how kind of engaged our residents are. They're letting me know on stuff that I completely forgot about. So that's, I guess, another, the point is just don't be afraid to learn more about it right now, about this virtual and online way of engagement. Take that time to learn more about it. And yeah, work towards that hybrid type style, because post-COVID, or that maybe not the right way, but continually moving forward, it's going to be both a virtual community and in-person community. We already see that obviously around the world. And it's only going to, I think, grow and continue to get into our communities, like a life plan community like Beatitudes. And we want to make sure first we understand what all that stuff is, and then be able to provide a safe platform for our residents to engage in a virtual community if they choose. And I think that's a responsibility that, Beatitudes wants to take on, because that's just another way to keep our residents, Beatitudes residents, engaged, whether it be with them or with just our neighboring community in
Yeah.
Phoenix.
That is very true. That is very true. I think we've seen, families also be very receptive to knowing that, I'm having my parents or grandparents move into a community that's actually not 10 years behind on technology. They're actually so far ahead. And, I know we were looking at doing that 19 North and Beatitudes event together. So how do you get, Beatitudes without walls, or Beatitudes without, geographic restrictions?
Mm-hmm.
So those are all very, very amazing opportunities, John. And thank you for being so forward thinking. And thank you. Yeah, thank you for really inspiring me and my team in trying to really do better and serve your residents better. And your residents are always keeping us, on our toes, I will tell you.
Ditto.
So, yeah. In fact, I do want to share a story about Beatitudes. I may have told you this, but there were two residents. They both spoke Polish. They actually met on our platform, and it was so amazing to see them talk, to each other. Like, oh, you speak Polish? Oh, you speak Polish. And they just was. It was so beautiful to see that engagement, and they talked, and it was really nice to see how. And I think one was assisted living, one was independent living, two which would never really, interact, and we know how that works. But it's very nice to see that increased sort of connectivity through technology.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, John, for taking the time on, your lovely vacation to be here. I know we're already 5 minutes over, but I always love chatting with you and getting your perspective on things. This has been incredibly helpful. Everybody, thank you so much for taking the time for joining our Nurturing Virtual Communities webinar today. If you have any questions at all, please leave us your questions in our chat option. There's also a Q&A option. Please leave your questions out here. If we haven't already addressed it, I'll make sure that I send it out to John and try to get him to respond to your questions. Or if there are questions to me, feel free to respond and let me know. We have a newsletter where we constantly give out resources for online programming. Please leave your email and I will make sure that you're added to our newsletter. We talk about free online programs, free tools and resources to use for engagement, how to connect your TV and have programming to your TV channel and stuff like that. So please feel free to sign up by leaving your email on the comment section. With that, John, you are awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for sharing your morning time with us. But it was wonderful to have everybody here. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody.